And immediately I know that something is wrong. And then it all hit. My baby was no longer living. I wish that there was something I could have done to prevent it, and it's unfortunate that there isn't. No one ever talks about how hard it is to lose a baby, or at least not until it happens to you. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is a little bit on the heavy side. I will be opening up about my miscarriage story in the hopes that someone out there will feel a little less alone. So I currently have a baby who is 1 year old. He turned one last month, and me and my husband, we have a goal of having 4 children. So I I wanted to have them really close together because being pregnant is hard, and I guess my thought process was just get it over and done with as soon as possible. I got pregnant again when my baby was 10 months old, and I was so happy. I was so happy. I'm a stay-at-home mom. It has been a dream of mine to be a stay-at-home mom and to have I have a vision in my head of having 4 little ones running around me, and just I don't know, just trying to be the best mom to them. Um so when I found out I was pregnant, I was super excited. I was pregnant for 13 weeks. So 13 weeks is when I found out about my miscarriage. I found out about my miscarriage just a few days after New Year's. Looking back, I remember telling my husband one day that I suddenly wasn't feeling nauseous at all, but I took that as a win. I was so happy to not be feeling nauseous because it's really hard um, being nauseous 24/7. But I thought that I was towards the end of the first trimester, almost entering the second trimester, so I thought that was just the normal process of being pregnant. And I was so excited. I told my husband, "Oh, I feel really good today." And a few days later, I had my OB appointment. It was supposed to be the 12-week appointment, but because my doctor was busy, I didn't have the appointment until the 13-week mark. I went to this appointment by myself. My husband was working and he wasn't able to take the time off. So I was there by myself, and I was so excited to get the ultrasound done. At this point, I had already done the initial ultrasound, so I was just really excited to see my baby again. I get on the bed, on the table, whatever it's called, and I'm still so excited. And the doctor starts doing the ultrasound, and I see my baby. And I was smiling. I was so happy to be seeing my baby. And then the doctor says, "Oh, honey." And immediately I know that something is wrong. And she explains to me that she can't find the heartbeat. And I'm like, okay. So in my head, I'm like, okay, what does this mean? Trying to piece the puzzle pieces together. And then she tells me that she is going to do one more check and basically turn the color on the screen to see if there's any blood flow. There was no color. There was color above that signaled my own blood flow in that area. There was no blood to the baby. And then it all hit. My baby was no longer living. I had never have had this happen to me before, so I just I just asked the doctor, like, okay, what now? What's the next step? So she tells me that I'm going to have to go into surgery because I'm so far along in my pregnancy. She told me that based on the size of the baby, this had just happened a few days prior. And by my calculations, that would have been New Year's Eve. So my baby didn't even make it to the new year. Well, the doctor told me I had to go into surgery. This was a Friday. Had to go into surgery on the next Tuesday. That was the next available time that the doctor had open. And she also offered me some tests, some blood tests to see if I have an autoimmune disorder that could have contributed. Um, and she also offered a genetic test to be done after the surgery to remove the baby. She told me that, those are some things that we can do to try and figure out what happened, but really, it wasn't my fault. There was nothing that I did to make this happen. That's both comforting and disappointing because I wish that there was something I could have done to prevent it, and it's unfortunate that there isn't. After I left the office, I went downstairs to the lab to get the blood drawn, and I I started crying while they were drawing the blood, and the lady, she must have thought that I was crazy crying while they were drawing the blood, but I didn't say anything because I didn't feel like I could talk about it in that moment, and so I just let her I just let her think that I was crazy. Um and and then I ran out of there. That day was really hard. It was really hard, and my husband came home early from work that day because I had called him right after the appointment, sobbing, telling him the doctor didn't find a heartbeat, and he was devastated. So he came home immediately. We decided not to tell anybody at this point because the next day was my baby's birthday and we were throwing him a party, and there was family coming, and we didn't want to ruin the party for my baby and for everybody else. But making it through his party was so hard. It's a pain like I've never felt in my life before. It's still so hard to talk about, and it's been a couple months now. We only told 2 people, and that was one of my close friends that I asked her if she could take care of me the next day after my surgery. And we also told one other person, my husband's cousin, to so that she can come watch our baby while we were at the hospital. So it was only 2 people. We didn't tell anybody else until it was at least 3 weeks before we started telling people. I just I didn't want to talk about it. I was in denial. I wanted to ignore what happened. I think it was at least a week and a half before I allowed myself to feel. I leaned heavily on my husband. He was sad. He was devastated for a few days, but he kind of pulled himself together in order to be strong for me. And he wanted and needed to be the strong one because I was just crying every single day for the first few weeks. And I'm grateful that he was able to be that strength that I needed and still is. Once we finally told people, well, telling people was really hard. I didn't want to tell people when we told everyone, but some people were starting to find out. And so I decided to just rip the band aid off and tell everybody. It was a really hard day after having those first couple weeks be really hard and then starting to feel a little bit better. And then telling everybody, it just kind of set me back to those first initial weeks. It was really hard. Everybody telling me like, "Oh, I'm so heartbroken for you. Like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Like, that really sucks." Um, and I just kept thinking, "Yeah, it really does, and you have no idea the pain that I'm going through right now." After that initial day of telling people, it got a lot easier because I guess I realized how much support I actually have and how many people around me love me and want to be there for me. It got easier in the sense that I felt like I could talk about it finally. Whereas before, when we hadn't told anybody, it just, my feelings were just inside. I would talk about it with my husband, but I didn't realize that I needed more than that. And so once I started talking about it, it really lightened the load. It was also interesting how once we finally told people, I had friends and family come to me and tell me, hey, I've been through that too. And they shared with me their experiences. And that was really cool to know that there are other women out there that have lived through this, and to see that they have taken it just as hard as I have. Because during this process, I felt so alone. Like I was the only person that has that is that has felt this, is grieving the loss of a baby even though he was never born. But there are plenty of people. It's 25% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage. That's a lot. And in my case, it was a late term miscarriage. So at 13 weeks, it's only 1% of pregnancies. But there are so many out there. And I have struggled to understand why people don't talk about it. I mean, I do understand. It's hard. It's hard talking about my miscarriage. It's it's so hard. But I wish that someone would have prepared me for this stage in my life where I'm starting my family, and knowing that there's so many things that can happen, but people only talk about how hard labor is, which it is. It is one of the hardest things that I've done. But no one ever talks about how hard it is to lose a baby, or at least not until it happens to you. And that's kind of the reason why I'm making this video, is because I want other women out there to know that they are not alone, that there are lots of people out there experiencing the same things that you are, and it's okay. So now I want to talk a little bit of what helped me heal. I think that this miscarriage has been a catalyst for me for a lot of different things. The first thing that I started doing was journaling. About 5 years ago, I'd say, I was really big into journaling. I have this philosophy that, you know, usually when you try and do a hard math problem, you can't just do it in your head. You grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and you write it down, and then you can solve it a lot easier. And it's the same thing with problems you're experiencing in your own life. If you're only thinking about it, if it's only in your head, you're never going to be able to solve it. So what I did in this specific instance was I started journaling. I wrote down my story. I wrote down how I felt, and that helped me, take a step back and see it as a whole. It also made it real, which is so hard to have. I didn't want to make it real. I didn't start journaling right off the bat. The other thing that helped me heal in my darkest moments, I remember waking up in the middle of the night, 3 in the morning, and I would just, I guess, throw a pity party. I would cry, and I remember crying for hours at one point, mourning the loss of my baby. But there was one night that I thought to myself, you need to pull yourself together, because you're going to have to get up in a few hours, and you need to show up for your baby that is living, that does need you. He is fully dependent on me right now, and so I can't let myself just keep throwing pity parties for myself. I need to be an adult, and I need to be there for him. And there was another night that I remember thinking to myself, why me? 1% of miscarriages, 1% of people experience miscarriages at this point, and why does it have to be me when I have so much love to give to this baby? And the reason why I didn't continue down that line of thought was because, again, for the same reason, I couldn't allow myself to fall into a depression, because I have responsibilities. I have a baby that needs me. And I know that if I didn't have him, maybe I would have fallen into a depression. But if you're watching this, I don't want that to be you. I encourage you to find something that makes you feel good, something that you like to do, something that will keep your mind busy. I am re-recording this because as I was editing my video, I realized that this whole chunk didn't record. So here I am. One other thing that helped me heal was taking the time to do yoga. And I think exercise in general is just really good. It helped my body feel better, which, it was healing from the surgery still, so I didn't want to do anything too crazy hard, and I just did some gentle yoga. It helped my mind, it helped my spirit. And lastly, one of the things that's been helping me the most is getting my house in order. I know that sounds really weird, but I would walk around and the bathroom would be dirty and I would think, "Oh, I got to clean that." Or something was dusty and I'm like, "Okay, I got to clean that too." And it just felt like I didn't have enough time in the day. And what I decided to do to fix that was I created a cleaning chart where I said, "Okay, Mondays I'm doing laundry. Tuesdays I'm cleaning, like deep cleaning the kitchen. Wednesdays, and a different chore each day so I don't get overwhelmed and I'm still keeping up with my responsibilities." And going in line with that, I also I started creating a meal plan every week. I'm a stay-at-home mom and I hate cooking. But I love being able to provide for my family and provide healthy foods. But every time dinner came around, I was really stressed. I didn't know what to cook, and sometimes I would freeze because I didn't have an idea, and then I just tell my husband like, "Okay, you cook tonight." He's the better cook anyway. um so anyway, just getting those systems in place helped relieve a lot of my stress, and um it really helped me put my focus somewhere else. Some of the things that I've done during my healing process was to keep myself from thinking about it. But you know what? Sometimes that's just the best that you can do. Sometimes you need to lie in bed crying, and that's the best that you can do that day. And it's okay. Everyone's healing journey looks a little bit different. If you're watching this and you've experienced a miscarriage, I want you to know that you're not alone. Your pain is real. It's okay to grieve, whatever that looks like for you. Allow yourself that time to feel everything and then to heal. There is no right amount of time to heal. Like, I still don't feel fully healed, but I am on that process. I'm at a point now where I feel fine enough to talk about it, even though it still hurts. But I think as women that have experienced miscarriages, at least from what I've seen from my friends, it's not something that you forget, and it's not something that you stop feeling sad about. But it does get easier as time goes on. And it's okay to never fully get over it. I never I never want to forget. That's one of my biggest fears about having another baby is I don't want to forget this baby. I'm sharing my story because this is something that is not often talked about, and I don't think that we should be allowed to suffer in silence. I hope my story can bring comfort to even just one person. Thank you for watching and allowing me to share my heart with you. If you've experienced a miscarriage and need someone to talk to, my comments and DMs are always open. And if you are comfortable, I encourage you to share your story too. You never know what difference you can make in someone's life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so you can help someone out there feel less alone. Thank you. Bye.